recording.
Yeah, you're recording right now.
Okay, cool. I'm recording. All right, cool. So let's welcome Ben. You can go ahead and do that. And I'm going to put the spotlight on so that he has a speaker spotlight. But Ben graduated in 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
You don't even know how I got that. I had to look through emails to see which was, and I found an email where I sent your teacher, Ben is here for STEP today. That's how I figured out it was 2017. Ben's mom also was running the PTA photo contest. And that's how I met Ben's mom and her love for photography, and met Ben and showed up one day at Ben's house. And I didn't realize that was Ben's mom. It was kind of a funny thing. And he walked in and I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I live here. It was really funny. And Ben took photo and also photo 1, 2, and graphic design, I think. I know
it was just photo 1 and graphic design.
Right. Because we didn't have a photo 2 at the time. Ben's been around the block a little bit with me. And he is here today to kind of tell us a little bit about where he's been, what's happening. And welcome, Ben, and yay.
Cool. So I have kind of a mess of a slideshow, just like some images and about my process. Let me try and screen share here.
Carla, you have to give him screen.
Oh, yeah, I have to get permission.
Oh, let me see.
By the way, while Carla's doing that, Carla also loves film. When Carla came to our school from New Rochelle, the one thing that we connected on was her love for film. She can roll in the dark. Love a girl who can roll in the dark and understands chemistry. That's the one thing that we don't have enough of at La Cañada is dark room. I think it would completely change photography if we could have a dark room and understand how photography works at a very, tactile level as opposed to level. Yeah. So.
Does it work now? I think
yeah, it does. All right, can you guys see that now?
Cool.
So I thought I'd start by just going through like a few of my like recent favorite images, talking a bit about me. So hold on. Yeah. So I'm 21. I graduated in 2017. And yeah, I shoot a lot of mainly film photography. And just I would say it's somewhere in like documentary art photography. I don't know quite how to classify it, but I just shoot a lot of things that like catch my eye. Just try and create like calm images. Yeah. And yeah, so those are a few recent favorites. That's kind of a sense of my style, where I like what I do with photography.
You can slow down, by the way. You can go back again slower.
Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, this is one I took at night in Pasadena, just right around blue hour. Thought this was like a cool composition with like the light kind of shining through the bushes. I shot this probably a month and a half back at Manhattan Beach, like right at the end of summer. Maybe 2 months back at this point, 2 or 3. I shot this again, like on a photo walk at night in Pasadena. This is up in when I was back at school from a few months ago in Morro Bay. Here's one from maybe a month or 2 ago in La Cañada, with like the sunset behind the car. Got this one. Yeah, so those are a few. And I would say I've been into photography and like image making for a really long time, just because like I grew up skateboarding. So I would like watch skate videos and like take pictures of like me and my friends and like make videos. And as I got into like high school, I got like a DSLR, took a photo class, and just got kind of more into it. But I would say I got really into photography maybe about 2, 3 years ago, because I picked up a film camera just to like, I wanted to like change things up, like learn a bit more about like photography and the process of it. And in the process of doing that, I found out kind of about the world of like art photography and dove in and just got really like inspired and wanted to start making images that were more like kind of emotive or like observational, because I realized you didn't have to like go to some like grand view to make a great photo. Like I remember I got introduced to like William Eggleston, I would say, is like a big influence, and I saw like the way he captured like super mundane things, and that was like pretty inspiring to me. So the last few years I've like gone pretty heavy into the art photography world. So about like the start of my journey with film, like these are some from my first couple roles, as I was just kind of learning about like this process. And because when I was shooting a lot of digital, I hadn't really figured out like colors that much. And I was kind of fed up with always wanting like the nicest gear. So like I just decided one day I was gonna slow down and get like a film camera, have like a bunch of limitations, and then just get the colors that were like naturally ingrained so I could just focus on just the composition. And I ended up really liking that workflow. So like over the past few years, I've gotten like more and more into film photography. I have like 4 or 5 cameras now. And over the last few months, I actually started fully developing at home and scanning. So like I have uh, C41 like color film chemistry, and I have like a black and white developer. So I do that all in my bathroom and then hang them to dry. And then I have like a flatbed scanner that I scan all my work on. And that's just been a super fun process to like learn about and get involved with, just because like film is fun because it's like a nice like tactile medium. And I liked that a lot about it. But um like doing it all yourself brings you like even closer to the process. And that's just super interesting and super fun to me. That's been really cool to learn. So I mean, I guess I could talk a little bit more about my process and like how I shoot. So like most of the time when I go out to make photos, I'm like intentionally going out to shoot. So like I'll drive the car and then like park if I see an interesting scene, or like park somewhere random and then go on like a couple-mile walk. So like these are a few I've shot at night in the last few months, which I found is like a really cool process because um, I just get a tripod and I basically find a cool scene and then let the camera run for literally 2, 3 minutes just to pick up all the available light and get these really interesting textures and colors that I really haven't been able to get any other way. But these are just from like driving around, and like as soon as a scene like catches my eye, I'll stop the car, pull out the tripod, and shoot. And these are a couple more in that kind of style. I found that I really like the like isolation you can create like at night. You can get these like really lonely images with like interesting colors and textures. So that's been really fun to experiment with lately. And I also, yeah, so here are a few more from just like going on photo walks like around the neighborhood, finding cool like textures, patterns, and just composing things like kind of simply and creating something, hopefully visually appealing.
Wow.
And yeah, this is that same kind of style. I just parked the car in Manhattan Beach and walked for like 2 hours and ended up with a bunch of photos. And that's been a super fun, like almost meditative process, because you just kind of tune into your environment and just shoot everything that catches your eye and just notice things that you wouldn't otherwise notice if you didn't have a camera on you. And yeah, so these photos are more like everyday life photos. So like most of my photos are done where I'm like intentionally shooting like just me. But one thing about photography I really love is its ability to just like document moments. So like beyond the intentional like I'm strictly just out there to shoot things. Like I always have a camera on me. I just love capturing like memories and shooting things of like people I love and places I've been. And this is another style I've been exploring. Outside of like just regular like scenes of the everyday world, like I'm also into concert photography. So these are both taken on pretty limiting gear. The one on the right I shot on an iPhone, and the one on the left I shot on a $20 point and shoot from the 90s. That's been fun to experiment. I have none of like that super high end gear, so it's cool to like try and create things with like a relatively limited medium. And yeah, so from here I could just go through a few more images that I like have created. I could take some questions, but yeah. So what?
LA River.
Yeah, shot this one in Los Feliz a few weeks back. I liked the pattern that the like power lines created above the river and the weirdness between like the concrete in the city and the greenery in the river. I shot this one in LA a few weeks back. Created kind of a lonely scene with this motel sign. Here's one that I shot in Pasadena on like a nighttime photo walk where I was just kind of looking for anything that interested me and setting my camera down and letting it run for a while. So I'm pretty happy with that one. Here's another one in that same kind of style. I actually created this one. There was no foreground in this scene, and I thought it would be kind of boring. So I set my tripod up, let my camera run, and then pumped my brake lights in front of the house to create like a red light and texture to give it more foreground interest. So that one I think is pretty interesting. I like the kind of style of like, if you're shooting long exposure, you can create the light yourself. You don't have to like always rely on what's there in the scene. Like I don't have any photos of this in this presentation, but I've also done it where like if you're doing the long exposure, you can like pop something with the flash to really put it in there. And I really like that way of like painting with light when you're shooting at night. So that's been something I've been exploring lately. Here's another one I shot in Pasadena the other day. Just thought it was an interesting scene with the kind of blue hour, like end of the sunset, palm trees, looking over this really mundane scene of just a bunch of trash on the sidewalk. Here's one's just some light and texture that I thought was interesting on the side of a building. So yeah, I mean, my style is pretty, I would say I like to shoot things that are relatively mundane and not super scenic, but I like the textures and stuff that you can create through photography. And that's just been super interesting to explore. That's kind of what keeps drawing me back to everything about the art form.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, but I think that's all I prepared for the slideshow. I could take some questions. I could, yeah.
So when you say that you're using a scanner and you're developing at home, talk a little bit about that with regards to its ease or its difficulty.
Ooh, so I mean it's an incredibly tedious process. So developing isn't that bad itself, and it's super fun. It's just like you get a kit of chemicals, and I use this thing called like a Patterson tank, so you can load it in a dark bag and then just develop like in the light in your bathroom. And it's not too bad. You just have to get the water to a certain temperature. I recommend everyone who's interested in film develop at home just because that part's really fun. But the scanning is something I've had to work on a lot over the past few months. It's like it's really hard to get like the natural colors of film to come through when you're scanning it yourself, but I've learned a lot about, color editing through that process.
Because I remember you and I talked over Instagram. I was like, hey, so are you, I think you asked me if I was developing and I asked you if you were developing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back and forth. Like, you're like, Miss J, how are you developing? I'm like, I develop at home in my bathroom. Actually, I don't do the bathroom, I do the kitchen. Uh,
Mhm.
and I came up with a Sue heater, a s-
Mm.
which because the kit was like $199 for the kit, and I found instead a like $20 water heater to keep the temperature at the same temperature, that uh, degrees, so that I could um, not only save money but keep the water at that right temperature. So when you mess up, and I have, do you find any grace in that? Any gems? Anything that colors going off, or are you just like, oh well?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had some mistakes. Like I've had somewhere I've like light leaks from unloading my stuff properly, like loading it into the tank improperly, and like I don't know. One thing I like about home scanning is I have messed up some colors of the film really bad. Like if you like over agitate it when it's in the tank, like if you flip it around too much, you'll get these super blue shadows. But luckily, when you're scanning at home, I've found that I can mostly like overcome those. But yeah, I've ruined some shots from scanning at home. But it's like it's all a learning experience. It's all fun.
It is all fun, and I do agree with you. There's a meditative. So I got back into film when we were homebound on March the 13th. And it became for me like my release to grab my camera. I know I only have 12 shots. Most of the time, I didn't even take an extra roll of film. And I would walk around my neighborhood and just for the first time, like see things I'd never seen before. And then come home and process my film. And that became kind of the meditation um, of the dark bag, and unloading it and drying it and then scanning it. And sometimes those they can could be many hours between the shot that you take and the shot that you actually are, oh, that's not so bad, and uploading it to Instagram. So if we didn't have an Instagram, what would you do? Like, where would you show your stuff? Like, how would you get this out?
I don't know. I've thought about that a lot. I think if there wasn't as much social media, I'd I'd probably be still making the same kinds of things and probably sharing through like prints or like zines or books. Yeah, I don't know.
That's that I asked myself that question lots of times. Like, if we
Mm,
didn't have this way of exchanging, how would we get to this place where we're expressing ourselves, especially during a pandemic, right?
yeah,
Especially during
yeah.
a pandemic. So you seem to be more engaged with this color idea than black and white. Talk to me about the difference. Um, and you also mentioned Eggleston, so that might be my answer right there. But talk to me about the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I shoot both actually. I shoot a lot of black and white. I share it less because I feel like my vision towards photography definitely lies a lot more in color.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that distinction definitely comes from my influences. Like, I mean, Eggleston, there's a quote where someone asked him, like, why don't you shoot black and white? Because at the time, like, you couldn't really be a serious photographer unless you shot black and white. But he basically just said, I don't care. And he said, like, we see in color. Why wouldn't I shoot in color? I feel like to some extent, shooting black and white simplifies things because you don't have to worry about like complementary colors and like you just worry about composition, which is a nice thing. But I feel like I like that extra level of like analysis, kind of the
Hmm.
extra level of I don't know, like an element to a photo.
Like that. That's a great answer. Great answer. Well, thank you. Are there any other questions? Anybody from the audience? Anybody from our group, our small group, want to chime in anything? You guys are so quiet.
What lens or lenses do you typically use, or like focal lengths with medium format stuff?
Yeah, so on medium format, I shoot with just like a 90 millimeter lens, which is I think roughly a 45 on 6x7. So I feel like I mainly shoot with like normal lenses. I don't shoot with anything too wide. Like I've tried it, but I definitely make better photos with like a normal focal length.
Where are you going to school now? I thought you were, where are you going to school? Or where did you go to school?
I'm at a Cal Poly right now in San Luis Obispo.
Ah,
Yeah,
beach, get it. I got it.
yeah, it's nice.
What are you studying?
I'm studying business,
Okay.
which is yeah, it's okay.
I think Peter's studying business too, right, Peter?
Yeah, like everybody, it seems like.
He's studying. Oh, my favorite photographers are studying business. That's amazing. That's super cool. So, of the work that you have that you showed us, do you have a favorite one?
Um, let's see. I think I have two right now. Of my favorites, I like this one a lot, just because it has that like blue hour vibe, and I like the warmth that you get like just in that one isolated spot where the house is. Like it feels kind of homey, but you're also behind a few fences, so it's like kind of isolated from that homey feel, which I'm kind of drawn to. I also, yeah, I really like the first three actually. I really like this one because of the framing I was able to get. This one was actually one of the ones that I ruined development on. Like the raw scan of this is super green and terrible, but I worked for like hours to bring the colors back to where I was happy with. So I'm
That's
also biased because there's a sense of like being rewarded with like the hard work with this one. And then I like this one a lot too, just because it's so strange. I like the kind of sense of loneliness where it's like the suburban house, but then you're in front of a fence and then these really like creepy, sarcastic painted smiles on the trash cans. Just feels odd.
your compositions are really cool. You've developed a sense of style where I can look at your photos and I know it without even looking at the name and know it's your work. And that in itself means that you have really gone very far with your voice.
Hmm.
So tell me a little bit about where Ben is going with his voice and talk a little bit about that, the future of Ben's work.
Hmm. So, I mean, I can see a bit of a style emerging in my work, a little bit, but I feel like I can probably see it less than other people. Like there's still like problems I have with my work, but I would just like to keep going down this path of like I like a lot of these suburban photos that feel like vaguely lonely but like homey in like this weird kind of balance. I've been liking making things like that. And I mean, the future of my work, I'd like to go into making like zines and books at some point, like once I'm in a place where I'm happier with my work. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the direction I'd want to take it. Like probably a little more into the art world. I really like that style of photography.
I have a friend who is a professor at USC, and he had a show recently, well, before COVID, so nothing's recent anymore.
Mm,
And it was a series of works that he did between 1966, when he was in high school, up until like 1975. And in that period of time, it was when he first was developing his voice and grabbing a camera, and it's all done in black and white on a Pentax. A lot of it's done on a Pentax K1000. And
mm,
he said at his show, which totally impressed me, that he was documenting his community and what was happening at the time. He never knew that 50 years later, people would want to see the work because those communities didn't exist anymore in the way that he documented them in 1966 and 67 and 68. And so this mundane, I put that in air quotes, this mundane work on these neighborhoods and these relationships with people. I mean, if you go back to even your beach photos and your photos where there are people interacting, that's kind of a historical photo now, because we don't have those we're not having that at this moment.
True.
So keep doing the work that you're doing, because what we're finding out is that there's nothing mundane about the way we record our personal history and record the history that is part of our community. And, I mean, we don't know, we should all know that we don't know what the future is going to hold. If this house is going to burn down one day, if we're not going to have that beautiful light or the opportunity to go to the beach or that interaction, or, like the last couple of photos I've seen, people are wearing masks, right? So it's kind of they're like,
Yeah.
that taken, people aren't wearing masks, they're not 6 feet apart. Whoa, that becomes a phenomena. So congratulations on such evocative work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's give him a hand.
That was awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So Tal, you're a new upcoming upstart 9th grader. What's up? How you feel about that?
I thought that was really interesting. I also like take walks and take photos sometimes too, so that's pretty inspirational.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Yeah. Yeah. Callan, what you got? What's up? Because Callan, you're along that same kind of.
Yeah, I really like that style of like kind of like the like William Eggleston feel. And like I've messed around with that, but like with film, I've never been able to like get colors to turn out that well. So like what's your like, approach with that, I guess?
Like my approach to editing, or just
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so I used to not edit my film because I would just send it to a lab, and like if you go to like the dark room in San Clemente, like the colors are always perfect, I think. But if you're developing at home, like I'm just not afraid to use like Lightroom to get the exact feel I want. I edit everything like they're digital photos until I like have the vibe I want.
A lot of editing, a lot of editing. I totally agree with you, Ben. There are times when it's like, oh man, did I jack up that roll of film? Like the temperature, I thought it said 80 degrees. Oh my God, it wasn't 80 degrees. Or, and you jack up that and you spend hours and hours and hours. There've been times when Callan, I just am disgusted and like I'll leave it alone and then come back to it weeks later and start all over again with like one frame. And I decided a long time ago, if in a roll of 12 I get one, that's a good day. It's time for me to take my camera out and go take some more photos.
Yeah, I feel like that's also important to say with yield, because like on film, I feel like there's even more pressure to like make good photos every time. But like if I get one on a roll that I'm really happy with, I'm super stoked. In my Lightroom catalog of like 4,000 photos, like there are probably 50 I'm really happy with.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's not as easy to dispose of those images because they're on film. Like,
yeah, they cost you money.
You throw them in the trash and go like, oh, forget that. It's a completely different vibe. So
yeah.
I have a roll of C41 black and white film that I'm going to put in one of those cameras that my student dropped off and see what it comes out like. These always come out a little bit sepia, so we'll see if I process it with C41 chemistry, what will happen. So
yeah.
all right, thank you so much. we're conscious of everybody's time. And Carla, any last passing words?
Well, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. That also kind of made me want to go like walk around and take photos because I don't know. I have my film camera right here, and I also have some film that I've been wanting to use. So I don't know. That was kind of inspiring. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Big support of going on photo walks all the time. It's super fun.
Yeah, that was my thing at 3 o'clock every day. I'd say, okay, I'm out of here. I don't want to see anything digital. I just want to take a walk in my neighborhood and grab I have a twin reflex. That's my favorite go-to when I go on walks, because this girl, she's kind of heavy. And my twin people are so cooperative with when you have a twin reflex. When you have that twin, nobody says, "Oh no, don't take my photo." They are like, "What do you got there? What is that? That's a camera. That's an old camera." Okay, and they're ready. They're like, they want you to take their photo. It's the strangest thing. So I also tell them, I don't know if it's gonna come out. And they're super cooperative. So very good. Let's give a hand to Ben, and thank you everybody for coming. And we'll see you in a few weeks. We've got Thanksgiving, right, coming up, and then Kimmy Cotter and Emma are going to present their work on the 1st of December. And their thing, I mean, they're into very stylized, well, Kimmy is anyway, she's into very stylized portraits. And Emma has a show about plants on, she's in London right now, and she's got a show about plants that she has got like over 1 million followers. It's crazy. So they both went to Loyola, and they're excited to come and show the work in a couple of weeks. So it's completely different from the kind of work that Ben is showing. So far we've had a pretty good showing. We had Peter last time, and the work that he's got going on. We had Ryan, Shaheen, Emily, and now Ben. You guys are making Mama pretty proud. Thank you so much for coming back and sharing what you're up to.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Peace. So, Carla, you call the meeting closed.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. And I think our next meeting you said was the 1st. Is that our next meeting?
1st of December.
Yeah. So, and then I'll post any other updates, and I think that's everything.
All right. Thank you. That went really well. Wow, Ben, you're a beast. So do I stop recording?
You can stop recording. Wait, let me see if I can